Yo, what's going on, guys? To the first episode of Pasting School. It's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit. Um, so mm, we're gonna be pasting some Fortnite cheats because that's the best. So here is if you just go to GitHub and then github.com, search evo.gj, and then this source will pop up. And so basically this is a little Fortnite cheat base thing that I made a while back that we're going to be using because the rest of the sources are dog water. So we're going to use the best on GitHub, which is mine, obviously. So just press code and then download a zip to download it. And then make sure Fortnite isn't launched because the anti-cheat will block the driver from loading, I'm pretty sure. If it doesn't, then I'll at least catch it pretty fast. But just drag and drop into KD Mapper, just like that. It's that easy. And then you want to go ahead and open the .sln file, and then you'll have the source code opened up. And so let me give you a little run through of the source before we start. So first of all, here under source files, we're gonna have our CPP files, just like this. Is there a way to like open all folders, collapse all show files? Shit, I don't even know. Alright, so we'll go here just like that. So that works too, I guess. Not really. I like the other way with the header files. Do I though? I don't know. So you can press show all files. So these have the CPP files and the H files separated. We can click this and they'll be together, just like a little baby. We'll just do it this way. Make sure it's released x64. And so here you'll see the format. It's a header file and then a CPP file. So this is used to organize your code, and then you can have multiple files for different things. That way you don't have like 3,000 lines in one CPP file. So basically you just create the header file, and then here you'll put the variables and you'll declare them. And then here you'll have the actual code, and the CPP file will just include the header file, and then it'll have all these definitions and everything. So it's a good way to organize your code. And let's see, so let's run through what happens here. So main.cpp is the main file, and you'll see here int main. I'm just doing this to be cool, but basically this is int main, and so this is what's going to be executed line for line. So it's going to run this, and then if this bool is true, then I'll do this, then I'll do this, and this. Hopefully you know how to code it a little bit. So you just need to know some basic C++ stuff just to get an understanding of it. And then once you get an understanding and you start practicing, you'll start developing more skills. And so first I'll find the driver handle, and then once it has the handle of the driver, it will be able to communicate with it. And so it'll communicate it, and it'll say it wants to find the image base, and it has the code image. So and then the kernel driver will get that code, read the image base, and then send it back to the user mode, and then it'll return the image address. And so here it finds the process ID, and this is the module base, and then it'll create an overlay, and then you'll see here it has to init some DirectX stuff, and then init MGUI, and then the fonts and the styles, and yada yada yada. And then here is the main loop. So as you see here, if you go to render.cpp, and then scroll down here, and then here, this while loop is what's going to be ran over and over again. And this source doesn't have multi-threading, by the way. And so basically you need create overlay, which creates a window. So you see here, create window. So basically, like, you have your renderer, right? So you have your renderer, which, like, let's just say draw lines. So like you have this renderer to draw lines, but what are you going to draw lines on? You can't just draw it on your monitor. So you have to create a window, and then you can set the window to transparent and click through, and then you can draw on that window. So yeah. And And so let's go ahead and do a little walkthrough of what the cheat does. So you'll want to go to fn.dumps.host because this is the SDK for Fortnite, which is just put on a website, and it's a very magical website, very magical. You will be able to have all the offsets that you could ever possibly want, and it auto updates. And if you go here to history, then you can see all the updates that it does, and it auto dumps and then uploads it to the website. And then, like, let's say you want the offsets for a month ago, then you can come here and you have all the offsets for a month ago, and I'll show you why you want that here in a second. So first thing that we're gonna do is do a quick rundown of the cheat. So this is named G-World. This is completely wrong. Do not listen to it. It is actually U-World, fun fact. So let's change that. And so this is a common misconception I think it's called. I don't really know English that well because, well, I'm American. Yeah, so that's all the times it's used. Alright, there we go. So if you search classes and then you search for U-World, and you'll see the class U-World. And then if you go over here to offsets, you'll see an offset called G-World. So G-World is just a pointer that will lead to the U-World class. So basically, we're going to do the base ID plus the offset of G-World. So let's go and paste that in, which will lead to the U-World class. And now that we're here, we have this, and so we're probably going to go through game state. Not immediately. We're going to first go through owning game instance, which is somewhere owning, yeah, here, which will lead to the game instance class, which is this offset. So as you see here, and I also linked it, so like if you click this link, then I'll show you. It'll lead you to the class, and the offset will actually be highlighted like this. And so the new offset is this. Just copy and paste it from the website. This didn't change, this didn't change, this did. So let me show you how you can find the new offset. Let's say you don't know that it's actually acknowledged pawn, and it's just variables labeled player. You don't actually know what it is. Well, if you go to my GitHub, you can see that the source was made 2 months ago. So what we're gonna do is we're going to, here we have the latest dump, and here we're gonna go to history, and since it was updated 2 months ago, we're gonna go to the 4-month ago update, since that's when it will last be. And then we're gonna paste the offset in here, and you're gonna see it's not popping up. Why? Because the dumps.host took a little break and they stopped updating, so this isn't the actual update that we need. So there was an update between this and this, but we're gonna go ahead and try the one that was a month ago, because hopefully the offset will still be what it was, and it is. So if you read here, it's saying it wants to add an offset to player controller, which will lead to a player, and that's mine. Okay, and so this is in the class player controller, and it's a member called acknowledge pawn, and it leads to a pawn, which is basically an inheritance of the player. So this is right, acknowledge pawn, and this is the offset, which is the same because we searched the offset in the global search bar, right? It's the same one, but now we know it's called acknowledge pawn. So if we search that in the latest dump, acknowledge, it doesn't have to be the full one. Just find everything that says that. You have the new, this come up here, and you have the new offset, and so you just be able to paste that in. And then this didn't change, but this did. So if we go to game state, I just haven't memorized what changed and what didn't because I'm a pro paster like that. So we'll update these offsets, and then we have the player array offset. which is still that. And it should be updated now. Pretty sure nothing else changed, if my memory serves right. So let's go ahead and take a run through of what this is doing. So first, yes, that's the GWorld offset. So first it's getting to the UWorld class, right? Now that it's at the UWorld class, it wants game owning instance. Beep, 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 beep. So this is game owning instance, and it leads to UGame instance. And then from UGame instance, you can see that it's adding 0x38, and it says local players, so let's find that. There it is, local players, 0x38. And you'll see that it's an T array of local players. So that means it's just stored as an array of local players. So you'll see here that it's actually reading. So it's reading it first, and then it's reading it again. This is so that it can get the first object, the first local player from the array, because our local player in our game that we control is always the first one in this array. And so it does that to get our local player from the array. Then you'll see here it's adding 0x30 to get the player controller. So let's find that. And as you can see, it's not there. Why? Because it's not actually in this class. It's in a class that it inherits. So if you see here, it'll show you all the classes that it inherits. And if you go to uPlayer, then it is here. 0x30 player controller. Just like that. And then from player controller, it will go to our own player, which is acknowledge pawn, which just leads us to the player class, the the class for our player using a knowledge pawn. And then this inherits AA actor. So all the players, all the actors, so an actor is basically like, let's say you have a bush, right? And then you have a player. Both are actors. They're just actors inside the game, okay? So what a pawn is it's a movable actor pretty much. And then you'll see here, if we go to player pawn, this is another class that our player will be. So this is also the player, right? And it's also inherits all of these, but it's still an actor, as you can see. So you'll be able to use this class on players. And then it'll get the root component, and it'll do that, so that you'll see, it won't show. So it gets the root component, because it will need to read the, oh, hello there, that needs to be UWorld. It needs to read the, this is going to be the relative location for, it's reading as a double, because I'm getting ahead of myself. You guys aren't understanding me because you're not pro like me, but basically just know that that reads the relative location root component, as you can see here. If we go to, I don't know why I duplicated, but yeah, global search bar, relative location. Here it's root component leads to using the component, and this is an F vector, which is, if you go to structs, F vector, which is the same as vector 3. It's still 3 doubles. It's going to have a double for X, Y, and Z. So that's just doing the double. So it's just reading the offset plus 0x8 to get the yaw of the, which is the Y coordinate of the relative location, and it uses that for the camera angles. And why it needs the camera angles is so that basically you're going to get the bone location, which is going to be at XYZ, right? But you're going to are on a monitor screen, which is two-dimensional, so it's X and Y, it doesn't have a Z. So it needs to convert 3D to 2D using Project World to Screen, which uses our camera angles to do advanced arithmetic math, so that it will return the vector 2, which is just the X and Y. And then you can see here, it just draws a box using that. So now that we're here, okay, so we also went to game state. So game state, and you guys probably aren't understanding me, but one day after you learn some skills, you'll start understanding what I'm saying in this video, which leads to a game state base, which should have player array. So this is an array of the player states, and then from there you will have a reactor. No, that's not right. It should be pawn private. Okay. So player state, and then you'll use pawn private here to get to the actual player class. So basically, we're reading an array to get all the players. And then yeah, and that's basically the basic rundown, which you probably don't understand at all. And I'm sorry for overwhelming you, but I promise it's not that hard. So yeah, now we should have updated and it should be working, right? So you can go ahead and press rebuild, and then if you go to the x64, you'll see this will change here in a second. Yeah, and so now we just rebuild this solution, and you can run it just like so, but we haven't launched Fortnite yet, so let's go ahead and do that. And there'll be more episodes of me adding to the source so that you guys can learn, and there'll be a bunch of stuff. Make sure you join the Discord server. I'm tired. I just woke up. And then, yeah, if you run it, it should automatically invite you to the Discord server, because I made it do that, because I'm awesome. And you see here, if you press insert, you'll see the menu. So like there's checkboxes and sliders and stuff. And it works, let's go. And then you should be able to, if you hold down the aim key, like right mouse button, it'll lock on. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. We'll be adding some stuff to the cheat, and I'll be teaching you more, helping you understand more in later videos, but that's gonna be it. Peace.